Emily Johnson tightened her grip on the leather folder she was holding as she stood before the towering headquarters of Westbridge Corporation in downtown San Francisco. The glass building reflected the California morning sun, gleaming like a giant mirror that seemed to challenge her nerves. Today was supposed to be the first day of her internship, the day she would prove herself in the corporate world. Her heart pounded, and she whispered under her breath, "You've got this, Emily. Don't screw this up." The revolving doors opened, swallowing her into a lobby so vast and pristine that she felt instantly small. Polished marble floors, modern art installations, and employees rushing with purpose, all of it screamed prestige and power. Emily adjusted her blazer, wishing her hands would stop trembling. She checked in with the receptionist and was guided to the elevator. Her reflection in the mirrored walls stared back at her, auburn hair neatly tied back, nervous eyes trying to look confident. The elevator dinged at the top floor. The executive level. When the doors slid open, Emily stepped into a world of quiet luxury. Sleek black furniture, expensive paintings, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the San Francisco Bay. She swallowed hard, reminding herself this was where the leaders of the company worked. And then she saw him. Standing tall in a perfectly tailored navy suit, speaking with authority to a group of directors, was Alexander Carter, the CEO of Westbridge Corporation. The man whose name was on every financial magazine, the man employees whispered about in awe, the man who also happened to be her husband. Emily froze. Her breath caught as if the air had been knocked out of her lungs. They had married quietly 6 months ago in a small Los Angeles courthouse. No one knew, not even her closest friends. At the time, Alex had insisted they keep it private. He had told her he was just a businessman who wanted to shield her from unnecessary attention. Emily believed him, until now. Alexander's eyes flicked toward her across the room. For a split second, the intimidating CEO mask slipped. His gaze softened, recognizing her instantly. And then, with perfect composure, he turned back to his directors, finishing his statement before dismissing them. When the others walked away, he strode toward her with the confidence of a man who owned not just the building, but the entire world. "Welcome to Westbridge, Miss Johnson," he said smoothly, his tone formal, as though she were a stranger. Yet his eyes betrayed him, holding warmth only she could read. Emily's pulse raced. "Mr. Carter," she managed, playing along. A faint smile touched his lips, just enough for her to notice. "You'll be reporting to my office directly. I expect the best from my interns." Her knees nearly gave out. He wasn't just her boss. He was the boss. The CEO. The man every employee admired, feared, or both. Inside, panic screamed at her. How am I supposed to survive this internship when my husband is secretly my CEO? And worse, how long can we hide this before someone finds out? The first hours of Emily's internship passed in a blur. She was introduced to the department heads, given a quick rundown of her duties, and assigned a cubicle dangerously close to the executive wing. But no matter how hard she tried to focus on the stack of reports in front of her, her eyes kept drifting toward the glass office at the end of the corridor, the office of Alexander Carter, her husband. From behind the glass, Alex looked untouchable. He moved with authority, his suit flawless, his voice commanding as he gave instructions to his team. To everyone else, he was the embodiment of control. But Emily knew another side of him, the man who teased her about burning toast, who carried her shoes after a long walk, who whispered her name like a secret. The contrast made her chest tighten. How did I not know he was this powerful? She thought. Why did he never tell me? Around noon, Emily received a message on her phone. It was from a private number. "Come to my office." No. Her palms grew clammy as she stood, careful not to attract attention. She walked down the hall, heels clicking too loudly on the polished floor. When she stepped into his office, the door closed behind her with a soft click. Alexander leaned against his desk, arms folded, eyes locked on her. The intimidating CEO expression melted instantly. "Emily." His voice lowered to the tone only she knew, gentle and warm. She swallowed. "You should have told me. Alex, I didn't even know you were this Alex Carter. You just said you ran a business." He stepped closer, loosening his tie, his facade softening with every movement. "I didn't want you to see me as this man. I wanted you to marry me for who I am, not for what I own." Her eyes stung, torn between anger and affection. "Do you realize how insane this is? You're my boss now. If anyone finds out..." He gently brushed his thumb across her hand, grounding her. "No one will find out. To them, you're just another intern. But to me," his voice dropped into a whisper, "you're my wife, and I can't help but spoil you." Her breath caught. Heat rushed to her cheeks. "Alex, don't. Not here. Someone might see." A sly smile curved his lips. "Then let them wonder. I've never cared about whispers." Emily's heart raced as he leaned in, close enough for her to feel his breath. She quickly stepped back, clutching her folder like a shield. "I want to earn this internship on my own merit. Promise me you won't make it obvious." Alexander's expression softened, almost apologetic. "I'll try, sweetheart. But when I see you struggling, every instinct in me wants to shield you. You'll have to forgive me if I fail at hiding it." She exhaled shakily. "This is going to be harder than I thought." He smirked, tilting his head. "Welcome to Westbridge, Mrs. Carter. Let the game begin." Her pulse thundered. She had walked in as just an intern, but in truth, she was living the most dangerous office secret of all, married to the CEO himself. By the third day of her internship, Emily could already feel the weight of whispers chasing her down every hallway. At first, she thought she was imagining it. Small glances over the top of computer screens, murmurs that stopped the moment she entered the break room. But then she overheard it clearly. "Why does the CEO keep asking her to bring reports personally?" a girl from accounting whispered. Another snickered. "She's probably just lucky. Or maybe more than lucky." Emily's stomach twisted. She wanted to whirl around and defend herself, but that would only fuel their suspicions. Instead, she kept her head down and pushed through her tasks, her heart hammering every time she had to walk past Alexander's office. Alexander, however, wasn't helping. He tried to be discreet, but subtlety had never been his strength when it came to her. In meetings, his gaze would linger on her longer than anyone else's. When he gave out assignments, his tone softened only for her. To the rest of the world, he was ruthless and commanding, but with Emily, he couldn't help letting his affection seep through. That afternoon, Emily was summoned again. She stepped into his office, shutting the door behind her. "Alex," she hissed, pacing toward his desk, "you're making it obvious. People are talking already." He leaned back in his chair, the picture of calm authority. "Let them talk. They don't know the truth." "They don't need to know the truth," she shot back. "But if you keep treating me differently, they'll guess something's going on. And if they guess..." Her voice faltered. "We're done. Both of us." For a moment, the CEO mask cracked. His eyes softened as he stood and came around the desk. "Emily, I don't want you to suffer because of me. But watching you struggle while pretending I don't care," he trailed off, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. "It's torture." Her throat tightened. She hated how easily his touch melted her defenses. "I just want to prove I belong here, Alex. I don't want them thinking I'm only here because of you." His jaw clenched. "You don't belong here because of me. You belong here because you're brilliant. But yes, I'll admit, I want to shield you from every cruel word, every jealous stare. That's my instinct as your husband." She stepped back, wrapping her arms around herself. "Then as my husband, promise me something. When we're in this building, you're my CEO, not my Alex. Can you do that?" For a long beat, silence hung heavy between them. Then he sighed, rubbing his temples. "You're asking me to be two men at once." "Exactly," she whispered. "Or we'll never survive this." Finally, he nodded, though reluctance clouded his features. "Very well. In here, you're just my intern. At home," his voice dropped, husky, "you're everything." Emily turned to leave, heart pounding. But the moment she stepped back into the hallway, she caught two interns staring at her from their desks, whispering behind their hands. Her worst fear was already coming true. The secret was cracking. Emily had almost convinced herself that the whispers would fade with time. If she kept her head down, worked hard, and avoided Alexander's office as much as possible, maybe the storm would pass. But she hadn't accounted for Olivia Bennett. Olivia was the company's vice president, and her reputation preceded her. Brilliant, ambitious, and stunningly poised, she had been at Westbridge almost as long as Alexander himself. Rumor had it they once shared more than just a professional partnership. Some said she had been his confidant, maybe even his lover. Whatever the truth, Olivia carried herself with the confidence of a woman who believed she deserved a seat beside the CEO, not beneath him. On Emily's fourth day, Olivia's sharp heels clicked across the floor of the intern cubicles. The sound alone made everyone sit straighter, typing faster. She moved like a predator surveying prey. When her cold blue eyes landed on Emily, her perfectly painted lips curved into a smile that felt more like a knife. "So," Olivia said smoothly, stopping beside Emily's desk, "you're the new intern Mr. Carter seems to favor." Emily's fingers froze on her keyboard. I don't think he favors me, ma'am. He treats me just like everyone else." Olivia tilted her head, amusement dancing in her eyes. "Is that so?" "Because I've noticed he sends you on errands no ordinary intern would handle. Bringing him confidential files, sitting in on high-level meetings. Quite the responsibility for someone so green." Heat rushed to Emily's cheeks. "I'm just doing my job." Olivia leaned closer, her perfume strong, her voice low enough that only Emily could hear. "Be careful, sweetheart. Ambition is admirable, but stepping into the spotlight too quickly can burn you alive. And trust me," her smile sharpened. "I'd know." Before Emily could respond, Olivia straightened, her heels clicking away toward Alexander's office. Emily exhaled shakily, her chest tight. The encounter felt less like advice and more like a warning. Later that afternoon, Emily slipped into the break room for coffee, desperate for a moment to breathe. But the universe wasn't on her side. Olivia was already there, stirring sugar into her drink, her eyes lifting slowly to meet Emily's. "Still here," Olivia mused. Most interns would be running scared after the first week. Emily tightened her grip on the paper cup. "I'm not most interns." Olivia's laugh was low and sharp. "No, you're not. You've caught the attention of the one man whose gaze no woman in this company can hold for long. That makes you interesting." Emily's pulse raced. "You're reading too much into it. He's my boss. That's all." Olivia's gaze glittered with amusement, though her voice dripped with suspicion. "If you say so. But remember, sweetheart, secrets never stay buried in this city. Not in California. And especially not in Westbridge." She glided out of the room, leaving Emily frozen in place, her coffee untouched. Emily pressed a hand to her chest. Olivia's words echoed in her mind like a curse. Secrets never stay buried. And Emily knew, deep down, that Olivia had already started digging. The following week felt like walking through a minefield. Emily couldn't move an inch in the office without sensing Olivia's eyes on her. The vice president had a way of lurking, always close enough to hear, always sharp enough to notice the smallest detail. Emily did everything she could to keep her head down. She worked late hours, volunteered for extra assignments, and made sure to avoid Alexander's office unless absolutely necessary. Still, Olivia always seemed to find her. One evening, Emily returned to her desk to find a yellow sticky note on her keyboard. The handwriting was elegant, unmistakably Olivia's. "You don't belong here. Sooner or later, everyone will see it." Her stomach sank. She tore the note into pieces, but the words branded themselves into her mind. That night, back at the penthouse, Emily finally broke. She dropped her bag by the door and collapsed onto the couch. Her shoulders shook as tears spilled freely. Alexander, who had been reviewing contracts at the dining table, was beside her in seconds. "Emily." His voice softened as he crouched in front of her. "What happened?" She shook her head, covering her face with her hands. "I can't do this, Alex. Everyone's watching me, whispering about me. And Olivia, God, she's relentless. She's digging into my life, I can feel it. What if she finds out? What if she ruins us?" He gently pried her hands away, forcing her to look at him. His eyes burned with a mix of anger and protectiveness. "If she tries anything, she'll answer to me." Emily's chest tightened. "That's exactly the problem. You'll look guilty if you defend me. The more you step in, the more obvious it becomes that we're not just CEO and intern." He exhaled slowly, pressing his forehead against hers. For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them, away from prying eyes. "Do you regret marrying me?" Her heart clenched. She cupped his face, her voice breaking. "Never. Not for a second. But I'm terrified that loving you is going to destroy us both." He kissed her gently, lingering, as if sealing a vow. "Then let it destroy me. Not you. I'll carry the weight. I promise to protect you, Emily, and I don't intend to break that promise." But as much as his words steadied her, reality gnawed at the edges of her courage. Olivia was too smart, too driven, and Emily could already sense cracks forming in the fragile facade they had built. The next morning, Emily arrived early, hoping to get a head start on her workload. As she set her bag down, she froze. Olivia was standing by her desk, leafing through a document Emily had left the night before. Olivia's smile was sharp as she handed it back. "Careful, sweetheart. In this company, even the smallest slip can cost you everything." Emily's pulse thundered. She knew in her gut that Olivia was circling closer, like a shark that had smelled blood. The secret wouldn't hold much longer. The annual Westbridge Gala was one of the most anticipated events in Los Angeles. Celebrities, investors, and journalists all filled the grand ballroom, glittering under chandeliers the size of cars. Emily had attended reluctantly, her stomach twisting as she slipped into the navy gown Alex had chosen for her. It hugged her figure perfectly, but she couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into a battlefield rather than a party. Alexander, in a black tuxedo, looked like he had stepped straight out of a magazine cover. To the crowd, he was the untouchable CEO hosting the night. To Emily, he was her husband, calm on the outside, but squeezing her hand once in the limousine as if silently saying, "I've got you." But the moment they entered the ballroom, whispers began. Emily felt dozens of eyes rake over her. Who is she? Why is she here? She wasn't a high-profile executive, nor was she supposed to stand by Alexander's side. Olivia Bennet, however, was. Dressed in a blood-red gown that matched the sharpness of her smile, Olivia glided across the room like she owned it. She had been waiting for this moment. During the CEO's speech, Alexander spoke of innovation, growth, and the company's bright future. Emily stayed toward the side, quietly observing, praying she could slip under the radar. But fate wasn't on her side. As the applause died, Olivia's voice cut through the room like glass shattering. "Alexander," she purred, stepping onto the stage. "Don't you think it's time to introduce your guest?" The spotlight swung toward Emily. Gasps rippled across the ballroom as heads turned. Emily's blood ran cold. "She's just an intern," Olivia continued, her tone dripping with mockery. "Yet here she is, dressed like a queen, standing where no intern belongs. Tell us, Alex, why is she so special?" The silence was suffocating. Emily's throat burned, her chest heaving. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the marble floor. But Alexander, he didn't flinch. Slowly, he descended the stage, every eye in the room locked on him. He walked straight to Emily, his tuxedo sharp, his expression unreadable. For a moment, she feared he would deny her, cast her aside for the sake of the company. Instead, he took her trembling hand in his and faced the room with unwavering pride. "She's not just special," he said, his voice steady, carrying through the ballroom. "She's my wife." A collective gasp echoed, followed by the blinding flash of cameras. Reporters scrambled, guests whispered frantically. Olivia's smile faltered, her mask cracking into visible fury. Emily's heart pounded so hard it hurt. She barely heard the chaos, only Alex's words, firm and undeniable. He lifted her hand and pressed a kiss to it, his gaze never leaving hers. "No more secrets," he murmured, "just for her. They'll know the truth tonight." Tears pricked her eyes as the room exploded with questions, but in that instant, none of it mattered. The secret was shattered. The world knew, and there was no turning back. The days following the gala were chaos. Newspapers splashed Alexander Carter and Emily Johnson across their front pages. "The CEO's secret marriage," screamed one headline. Another read, "Intern or wife? The scandal at Westbridge." In the office, everything changed. Employees no longer whispered in half-sentences, they stared openly. Some looked curious, others judgmental, and a few, envious. Emily felt every gaze like a weight pressing down on her chest. The board of directors called an emergency meeting. Alexander walked in with the same unshakable confidence he always carried, but Emily knew he was carrying the world on his shoulders. She waited anxiously in his office, chewing her lip until he returned. When he finally did, his jaw was tight. "They wanted me to choose," he said bitterly, tossing his tie onto the desk. "The company or you." Emily's breath caught. "And what did you say?" He crossed the room, cupping her face in his hands with fierce determination. "I told them there is no company without me, and there is no me without you. They'll adjust, or they'll step aside." Her heart ached with love and fear. "Alex, what if this ruins everything you've built?" His eyes softened, searching hers. "Emily, I've built empires. But none of it means anything if I lose the life I want to share with you. Let the world talk. Let them call it scandal. I'll call it love." Tears slipped down her cheeks as she pulled him into a trembling kiss, whispering against his lips, "You're insane. But you're mine." Despite the storm outside, their bond only deepened. Some employees began to admire Emily's quiet strength, realizing she wasn't just the intern who married the CEO. She worked harder than ever, determined to earn her place not through her husband's name, but through her own grit. Olivia, humiliated after the gala, tried once more to sway the board against them. But Alexander's loyalty was iron, and Emily's resilience silenced much of the gossip. Eventually, even the fiercest critics grew tired of the scandal. One evening, weeks after the gala, Emily stood barefoot on the balcony of their penthouse, the city of San Francisco glowing beneath the stars. The Golden Gate Bridge stretched across the horizon, bathed in amber light. Alexander came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, pressing his chin to her shoulder. "Do you regret it?" he asked softly, his breath warm against her ear. "Being mine, being this public?" Emily leaned back into him, her fingers lacing with his. "Not once. Not even when the whole world was against us. You're still the same man who made me laugh in that little courthouse in Los Angeles. The rest of the world can keep their opinions. I only care about us." He turned her gently, gazing at her as though nothing else existed. "Then let's promise something tonight. No more secrets. No more pretending. From now on, the world can see what we already know. We belong to each other." Under the California night sky, with the city glittering around them, Alexander kissed her with a tenderness that made her forget every fear. For the first time, their love wasn't hidden. And for the first time, Emily felt truly free. Thank you for listening to this story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. Until we meet again in the next story, take care and keep the magic of imagination alive.